Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. This is another episode that's coming to you guys. Today's topic is going to be a little easier. My name is Famata Warfield,
And my name is Hawa Zabel.
and welcome to Adopt a Gals podcast. We're so happy to.
Welcome. So, as Fatmata was saying, this is going to be a lot more lighthearted conversation. It's not going to be focused around race. It's not going to be focused around lack of gratitude because it's very triggering topics for a lot of people. But today we're going to talk about something that I think we both know that a lot of adoptees have a challenging time navigating this, which is how to support your birth family and when is it right to support your birth family versus when to not support your birth family, right? This is something that both me and Fatmata have had really challenging time just figuring out when is it appropriate and how much should we be able to support our birth family and having the feel of guilt around support, feeling like we need to be able to give back. And there's some adoptees that simply are not in a position to support their birth family.
Mhm,
Right. We were adopted again from Africa. We moved out here to America, and in Africa, in Sierra Leone anyways, where we were adopted, there's a lot of poverty, and
mhm,
everyone over there in Sierra Leone thinks that once you move to America, you automatically become very rich, very wealthy, and you should be able to
mhm,
support the whole family, not just your parents, but your siblings, your aunts, and your uncles and your nieces, pay for education, pay for food, pay for housing. So, which is not always realistic, right? Especially when you're a young adulty. So, we're going to try to give everyone, our listeners, some tips on how to navigate this type of conversation.
it's a conversation that needs to be had because even though yes, America does not money does not grow on trees in America. I can see why our parents feel like, well, if you go there, when you go there, you're automatically rich because America is a resourceful country compared to Sierra Leone. You do have better opportunities and chances, but our families just they expected us as soon as, even at a young age, as soon as we came to the States at 9 and 8, they were expecting us to send money right away from our adopted families. And even though we can make little sacrifices here and there in sending money, $40 here and there, yes, but sometimes you might need that $40, especially if you're just starting out like we are. We are young. I just graduated college last year, and how is he's just starting a brand new job and stuff like that, where can't necessarily just start to just send you all that money because one, we don't have it. I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation. And one of the things we've talked about in the past is having survivor's remorse. Survivor's remorse is feeling like your family is back there in an impoverished country and you are here in a country that is better, and you feel guilty that you get to be here and but your family gets to be over there and they're in a way where you feel like they're suffering, and you're like, why me? Why did I get to be chosen to be here? Why did I get to be here? My family is not. And sometimes I used to just lose a lot of sleep over it and crying because I'm like, I'm here and I feel like they're suffering. And even though when you look at things logistically, they're not necessarily suffering. They're still able to eat and the daily, everyday stuff that they can have access to. That is in Sierra Leone, they have some of that, but that's something I've always have a hard time with. And how I feel like you can also concur on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of it is like you're almost, for me, I felt like when I first came out here and after I graduated from high school and I became an adult, I was paying my family on and off and helping them at least send some money for like feeding, for food. But I definitely could not pay for their medical bills or anything like that.
Yeah.
However, I felt like a part of me was stressing out and putting so much pressure on myself. I was overcompensating because I was putting myself in their shoes so much because I remember the pain and the hard times that I went through when I was in Sierra Leone. So I'm like, I would, if there was someone in America that could help me, I would want them to help me,
Mhm.
right? So it's almost like you're living for your birth family, and sometimes
Mhm.
that's not always the healthiest. And you have to create those boundaries with your birth family. You have to learn how to create those boundaries. It can be very challenging. And
Mhm.
this reason how to support birth family and whether or not to support birth family. That's a very challenging conversation, and that's I think one reason why there's closed adoptions, right, is because
Yeah.
When you adopt as a parent, for example, you're adopting a child, you're not necessarily you're adopting because you want to form a family bond of build a family with a child, and
Mhm.
you're not necessarily wanting to take it upon yourself to have full responsibility for the whole family, the whole birth family,
Yeah,
especially if you come from internationally third world country, and there's a lot of poverty. It's just a huge undertaking, a huge responsibility.
yeah,
I know for myself, my adoptive family, they were supporting my birth family for a very long time until I was an adult, right? And I know
mhm,
with you too, Fatma, they were helping them with food, with paying for their rent, monthly and yearly
mhm,
rent. They were even sending my brother to school, right? And so I
mhm,
think because we had that open adoption
mhm,
and my parents were supporting them so much. My parents are more well off than I am. So then now that I'm an adult, it's almost like my family has that same expectation for me to be able to support them as much as my adoptive parents were able to. And it's like, no, that's not right. I'm
mhm,
just now figuring life. I'm just figuring out exactly what type of work I want to do. And for them, it's almost like it's a waste to send you to America if you're not able to give us money. That's the energy and tone I get a lot of times when I speak to some of my family members in Africa. And now there's others who are more understanding, but
yeah,
there's two sides to it. Because on the one hand, I understand because they are going through poverty and they don't have anyone else to really lean on. But on the other hand, it's like I got to take care of myself too. Then
make sure that I'm surviving, that I am floating, and yes, we are adults now, and we can make our own money, but they don't understand the money that you make in America. You have bills and other things going on, so they don't understand that concept. And there's definitely been times where my father, my mother, everybody, phone calls can be very rude and just shocking and awakening, yelling at me, "Why aren't you sending us?" Just rude as hell about it, and
yeah.
I'm like, I can't send you $5,000.
Right. They're like, "Why don't you help me start
These
a whole business?" And I'm
yeah,
like
a whole these
like,
large amounts, these
I'm like,
large that they're asking for, and I don't even have that in my savings right now. Like, I can't send you that. Like, and that's so beyond them. Even with my family, even after just explaining over and over and over. And after a while, I just stopped explaining. After a while, I'm just like, because they don't understand. It's like, you should just send it. And I'm like, you can do it and try. It's like, I'm not. And I think they get confused because every now and then when I do have it, I send it. I do. So they
right.
think that I think they think that
You're
I'm
always
holding on to it and I don't want to help them. And that's not the
uh,
case. I
yeah.
had it at that time, but I don't have it anymore right now. So I've had
Right.
to kind of and that goes into a little bit of the boundaries that you need to you need to create with your family when they are on you like that, is to kind of, one, you need to explain to them, you need to be making aware, and of course you're gonna have to do it more than once at times. And once you've gotten that across and you feel like they understand you but they keep asking, that's when I feel like it's appropriate to set boundaries in letting them know, hey, by the way, I feel like you guys just only call me for money and not asking about my well-being, which isn't okay. And I want to have, if you want to have a relationship with them, let them know I want to have a relationship with you on an emotional level and not necessarily about money when you call me. So when you call me, ask me about how I'm doing. And I need you to understand, when I say I don't have it, I don't have it. And
Right.
sometimes my family did, they never understood that. So for a while, right now, I just kind of had to take a step back from them a little bit and just kind of keep them at arm's length, because they're not, one, respecting my boundaries. Two, it's a lot of harassment from them. And three, that harassment really hurts my feelings because it feels like they don't care about me. And it was just about the money, and them sending me here to the States was just about the money. It wasn't necessarily about my well being. And it was just about them prospering. And so I've had to kind of put them at arm's length for now. And of course, when I do have money, because I do want them to be sustainable there, I'll send it to them. But for now, it's just stay right there, and I'm gonna stay right here for now because it's too much.
Yeah, and I want to add also, I think Famata, that's great. First tip is really having boundaries. Fatmata was saying, creating your list of boundaries. What boundaries looks like for me, it's going to look different for Fatmata. It's going to look different for
Mhm,
you. So you need to, as an adoptee, sit down, and you can even
mhm,
sit down with your adoptive parents, right, and
mhm.
come up with what does boundaries look like and different stages in your life. Because when you're 18, the amount that you can support is going to look way different than when you're 22, than when you're
Mhm.
25, your 30s, right? So really
Mhm,
clarify what those boundaries look like, review it with
mhm,
your adoptive family, and then communicate that with your birth family. Now, they may not understand and they may not even want to try to understand, but you
mhm,
need to just stick to that boundary and try not to deter too much from that boundary. Now, there's some
mhm,
emergencies that happen where it's like,
mhm,
maybe there's hospital bills, and in those times, you try what you can, but try
mhm,
not to go way beyond that boundary you've set because then you're just setting yourself up for
mhm.
stress, right? And the second thing I would say is really figure out what can you do without
Yeah,
stressing yourself
yeah,
out. What money there's times in your life as adopting, as probably as a young teen or young adult, where you're not gonna have a job, you're in between
yeah,
jobs looking for work. You don't have anything, a flow of income coming in. So
mhm,
what can you do at that time? Sometimes it's not going to be support via money, but it might be support
mhm,
with emotional support, being able to talk to them on the phone, right?
mhm,
Talk to your birth family on the phone. Sometimes you have money coming in on a consistent basis, right? Can you
mhm.
offer $25 a month or
Yeah,
$50 a month or $100, whatever it is? Figure out exactly what number makes sense for you at your stage of your life,
mhm,
and don't feel guilty for that number because that's where you're at in life. There was points for me where I was going into debt trying to help my birth family because I felt so bad because I'm like, "Oh my
the
gosh,
survivor's
everything
remorse.
is" yeah, survivor's
Mhm.
remorse, exactly. Everything just seems like an emergency with my birth family, and I'm like, I wanna help,
Oh
but
my god.
going into debt. They don't understand what debt is. They just think
Yeah.
we're just rich out here. So really figure out exactly what you can afford, and if you can do more, then do more. If you can't at the time, then accept that.
Yeah, and can we talk about well, how they make everything into an emergency? They make it seem like the world is freaking ending, and it's like, and at this point, you and I, we know now what the BS behind some of the stuff.
You pick it
But
up. You learn how to pick it
yeah,
up.
you learn how to pick it up, being like, I don't think that's for an emergency. And then another thing that Bao and I both had to learn is deciphering when they're lying, because sometimes they do lie to get money out of us. And it's like, sometimes if they send us an emergency, say somebody's sick, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, we're going to want to help because that's our family. And but
Mhm.
sometimes they lie about that, and it's like, especially if we don't have it, like how I was saying, you end up putting yourself in debt to try to help them, and it kind of gets very confusing and trying to help them, because it's like, how do I know you're not lying to me? How do I know if I'm putting myself in debt and in financial trouble to help you? I need to know that it's actually legitimate and it's not just
Right,
you trying to get money from me. And I used to say, I would rather you just say you want money just for the sake of wanting money than you making up a lie, because I feel like I'm more inclined to send it to you if you say you just want to just have it. I used to tell
right.
my family that, and they still don't understand that. And there's been hurtful things that my brother has said. He's just like, well, if I was in America, I would be doing better than you right now. I would have this and that, and I would be able to send money to our family.
Sure.
And I
Come
didn't
to
like
America. Come to show me how to do it. Come to America.
right. And at first it kind of it rubbed me off the wrong way, but I'm like, he truly does not understand it. He really thinks you come here, you hit the ground running, and you just start making money. And it's like, no, it's a process. Being in America, it's a life process in getting to a place where you are financially stable. It happens for every person, whether or not you are black, white, whatever race that you are. And especially being adults in our 20s, we used to think our 20s, that's where we're going to be making it. That's where we're going to have all the financial stuff. And it's like, your 20s, you're still figuring it out. You don't
Yeah.
have money like that. You're still trying
And
to
then
figure it out at times. But
in this day and
that,
age, that's the fact. That's the fact. So, Fatmata, can you tell the audience, maybe an adoptee who's going through similar situations where maybe they thought someone lied just to get money out of them, or just to protect themselves, right? To kind of learn what are what's a tip that you can give them as far as deciphering
mhm.
when birth family is lying? And are there some cases where maybe you that they're lying, but you're okay with giving them money because that they're suffering anyways? I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for me, I had, like we talked about how I talked about create a plan. For me, I had created this plan where I was like, I'm going to send you money every 3 months. And I wanted to send it on a monthly basis. But my brother said to go pick it up is a lot of traveling and getting there. It's kind of like, it doesn't really make sense because it's like you're losing some of that money. So I
Right.
was like, okay, I'll send you a lump sum. So that, in doing that, not only helped me with my survivor's remorse and creating out boundaries, it helped really well with creating boundaries. But when it comes to the lying, it can be really hard because at the end of the day, you're not there. And I've been trying to figure out how to find somebody who knows more about Sierra Leone things that are going on there, that you can have like that person that can talk to you and be like, that's not happening actually. And if this happens, this can happen. For example, malaria is something that's very, very prevalent, and there's hospitals that give out medication for free to people from malaria. So when my parents say, oh, we need money to go to the hospital for malaria, it's like you can just go there and pick up the medication. So it's about knowing that. It's about learning about your country more. And after a while, you just kind of learn, and you just have this gut feeling on whether or not something is true or not.
Yeah.
Um, and also you gotta like they always whine about the same thing, and they try to tug on your heartstrings when it comes to health and family. Oh, look at my brother, for example. He does have a baby that's kind of in and out of the hospital a lot. And they send you pictures to tug at your heart. Oh my gosh, look at him, he's suffering, and all that different stuff. You just kind of have to learn. And it's not perfect. It's hard. It's not easy because it's your family and you want to help them, and they tug at your heartstrings. It's like, what am I supposed to do? I want to help them. I feel so bad. I feel so helpless. And it's just about interacting. The more you interact with your family, the more you are able to understand whether or not they're lying or not. I hope
Mhm.
that answers the question. Because at the end of the day, I am still trying to figure it out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure out how whether or not they're truly lying or not. And I think I have a kind of good idea, but they throw me curveballs every now and then. So
Right, right,
so
exactly,
what about
exactly.
you,
And one thing, I think you hit it the nail on the head. So one thing I want to add is that if you weren't a part of their lives, or if it was a
Mhm,
closed adoption, what would they be doing? They would find ways to survive. And as cold as that sounds, it sounds cold, right? But at the end of the day, that is the reality, because there are a lot of adoptions that are closed, and
mhm,
the birth families are not able to get any support from the adoptive family at all whatsoever. The adoptees don't even know who their birth parents are, so they have no way
right,
of even helping, even if they wanted to. So at the end of the day, you try your best, but
mhm,
also know that they also have to do their part, your birth family, to take care of
mhm,
themselves, because if you weren't in their lives, they
mhm,
still be able to rely on community, on each other, on other family members. So you're not
mhm,
the only person. As much as they try to make it seem like you're
mhm.
the only hope, you're not. You try to do what you can. You do your
Yeah,
best, because at the end of the day, if you stress out and you're broke and you have nothing, how can you even give back? So you really have
exactly.
to take care of yourself first, and then be able to give back.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly put. I'm really glad you brought that up because I do forget that they do. There's a community there. Before I came to the States, before I was adopted, they were able to figure out a way on surviving. And so to think about that, it kind of helps with survivor's remorse and feeling guilty. And at the end of the day, you do get to a point where you just know when something is wrong versus when something is not. And at the end of
Mhm.
the day, if you are somebody who is wanting to have more of a relationship rather than having it being money based, you do also have to understand that some relationships with family is just going to be money based. And if you want a relationship that it can't give you that, you might just not want to have a relationship with them. And to me, I feel like that's okay. It's okay for to feel like, okay, well, I feel like they don't love me or care about me enough and they care about the money. It's okay to separate yourself from that. And as hard or harsh as that may sound, at the end of the day, the adoptee, your inner being and your mental health is the most important, because at the end of the day, they made the decision to give you up and to give you a better life. And even though they did that, you still it's okay for you to have create your own path in life and deciding who
Mhm.
you want in your life, and especially how they treat you. And
Mhm.
that's something there's been times where I don't talk to my family at all. And then
Mhm.
there's times I bring him back in because my family is more just about money, 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 not necessarily about how I'm doing in that aspect.
Right, absolutely. And I think pretty much we kind of covered I think 4 to 5 different tips. Yeah.
Oh,
But so the 4 things that I would say that we kind of talked about is, one, having boundaries with your family. The second thing, just being able to be realistic with yourself as far as what you're actually able to do as far as support, whether that be monetary, emotionally, time. Be realistic with yourself. The third thing is,
family.
guilt and lying, being able to decipher when maybe
Hmm.
they're lying, or they're maybe exaggerating the truth. Just being able to discern use some discernment and being able to do some research. And sometimes just know that they're going to lie, but you're going to want to help them anyways a little bit
Yeah.
just because you know that they're in desperate time. Because
Mhm.
the truth is that every single child wants to be able to give
Yes.
back to their family all of the sacrifices that they made for us, right?
Mhm.
Whether we're adopted or not. I think most children want to be able to give back to their parents
Absolutely.
and show gratitude for all the sacrifices they made to raise and build them up.
Yeah, that's in at the end of the day, we want the best for them and we want to show them, hey, thank you for making that sacrifice. Now it's time for me to bless you. And one thing Howard and I have decided that we will help our family no matter what. And especially when we start to make more, we start to become more financially stable, we are going to go back and help them. And that's
Absolutely.
because we love them and we care about them.
And they have sacrificed a lot. They've sacrificed a lot. And I know this is a short video. We're trying to keep our videos a little bit shorter. But if
Yeah.
you have any questions as far as how much money to send, how to have that conversation with your adoptive family of coming up
Absolutely.
with boundaries, or even asking your adoptive parents to help your birth family, if you have any questions or want
Mhm.
any suggestions, we're always here. You can always reach out to us on Instagram or
Mhm.
on TikTok. You can DM us or even like comment below in our YouTube channels, and we're always here to give as much insight and information as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in closing out, once again, thank you so much for coming to our, I want to say our TED Talk. Thank you for coming and being part of Adopted Gals and our journey and the beauty
Yes.
that I hope this video resonates with you. Once again, if you have any questions, don't be shy. We are here to help you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because we need that. Thank you so much for being part of our journey. We will see you next time.
All right. Bye.